Woohoo!
Okay. And there we go. All right.
There we go. We are live. Woohoo!
Now I'm going to have to turn that off or there'll be reverb, I guess.
Yeah, let me check out.
Okay, so while we are still playing around, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Conscious Awakening series. I'm your host, Sheila Seppi, with Wish Alliance, and this month, all month long, we have Karen Swain with us, and Karen is an ambassador. She has a variety of shows, which I'm hoping that you'll tell people all about. She is a healer and a teacher of teachers. And so, Karen, I'm so excited to have you here with me this month. I know we're going to have a blast. And tonight I know we're going to have a blast because we're going to kind of interview each other. We're going to share their stories. So it's really tonight. Before we get started, as always, I want to thank the Portal to Ascension, and this is Willow too, and he'll be joining us off and on screen. But I want to thank the Portal to Ascension for always replaying all of our programs. Thank you so much, Neil, and also to New Realities with Alan Steinfeld. Thank you guys very much. And so if you're watching us on there, please be sure to hit the like button and to subscribe, as well as on Karen's network right now, because we're on YouTube Live with Karen. So please hit that like and share button. So what we'd like to do right now is go ahead and bring April up, because April helps to take care of our website. So April, let's go ahead. Let me make sure. There we go.
Oh, can I? It's going to let me. Yay.
There you go.
I have the screen up, but unfortunately, oh wait. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Is it showing?
Technology. No.
Okay, that's all right. You know what? I'll bring it up on my end and you can talk with everyone about that.
Fantastic.
So, here we go.
So the Wish Alliance website is a great resource for anybody that's looking for information. Walk-ins, indigo, starseeds, and hybrids. We have a whole host of services available from the ambassadors. Upcoming, we ask everybody, please do join our mailing list. We send out 2 emails every week for Conscious Awakening on Mondays and Cosmic Conversations, which is on Thursdays. And the links are in the email. We have upcoming events coming. Oh, cancel. Anchoring Higher Conscious, a hybrid conference, which is August 27th and 28th. That's a Wish Alliance event with Portal to Ascension. And other events coming up this weekend, Saturday, May 7th, Paranormal Magic and Ancient Folklore, put on by Portal to Ascension. It's on Saturday, and you can just click on the images on the website and it'll take you right to their website. And then I think May 21st, they have an event. Paranormal, right? So this weekend, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So into the realm of the paranormal world, we will show that the otherworldly realm is normal reality. Is magic real? And it could be just be the science that we have not figured out yet. I think that's going to be a really great event. Yeah, and so also on the website, there are application forms that you can fill out if you have a story you'd like to share with the Wish Alliance. That's been building up under, yes, thank you. So if you have a book that you've written on the subject matter, we'd be happy to include it in our media, conscious media. Yeah. So there's meditations on the website. There's book reviews. We hope that people will read books and let us know what they thought about it. And then there's artisans and ambassadors. If you missed the event, you can go to events, and all the past speakers over the past year are listed there, their information, their website, and the Zoom recording. I think that's it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. And also, we have the Wish Alliance website. And if you go to their, or not website, but the Facebook page, it's Walk-ins, Indigos, Starseeds, and Hybrids, Wish Alliance. And if you go there right now, you can also click on this link because Karen is streaming this live on her well, actually on several different locations, but Facebook is one of those prime locations where you can watch us. So I'm very excited about that. So thank you guys so much. And a big shout out to Cindy. Cindy does a great job. She'll come on and periodically she'll ask a question to get everybody's feedback. She put an announcement tonight about our programming. And so, Cindy, I always want to let you know how much we appreciate you as well.
Thanks, Sheila.
You are so welcome. And right now, I'm very excited because we have Susie, who is going to share with us a beautiful song.
Hey, everybody. Wait. So in the advertisements for tonight, in the email it said that Karen was going to interview Sheila, so that's kind of how I wrote this song, okay?
Oh.
And Karen, forgive me that you're not named in this song, okay? Sheila Seppi is a walk-in, is a good friend of mine. I love, embrace, and walk in everything she shares, and she always makes me feel so fine. And we always have a really good time, singing joy to the world. Oh, the boys and girls now, joy to the starseeds and all we can be, joy to you and me. Wish alliances for starseeds, you are some good friends of mine. I love, embrace, and walk in everything you share, and we always feel so fine, and we always have a really good time. Now if I were a hybrid on Earth, I'd tell you what I'd do. I'd throw away the hate and the war, and I'd speak the love and truth to you. And I'd speak the love and truth to you. We're singing joy to the world. Oh, the boys and girls now, joy to the starseeds and all we can be, joy to you and me. You know we love our starseed family. We love to have our fun. We're some high life flyers and rainbow riders and some truth-speaking sons of a gun. We are some truth-speaking sons of a gun. Oh, singing joy to the world. Oh, we boys and girls now, joy to the starseeds and all we can be, joy to you and me.
Oh, Susie, how cool was that?
That was awesome, Susie.
Oh, thank you so much, Susie. That was absolutely wonderful.
That was super cool.
Those words actually came to me. Sheila Seppi is a walk-in in the middle of the night. So, yay!
That was awesome, Susie.
And I can't wait.
And that's true. That's true. I am. So, thank you very much.
See you in the
back. That was a wonderful, wonderful way to start this. So
awesome.
Karen,
darling one, I would like to
you to tell people a little bit about who you are and how you came to be here tonight. And be sure to share that all your wonderful programming.
I'm going to do that too, and we're going to share you as well. I just want to tell people, seeming that we're streaming live, I want to tell people what's going on in May, because I've got so much going on in May. I sent out a newsletter last night, and I forgot to put in a few of the things which Michael being here reminded me of. So can I do that? Can I share my screen?
Sure.
So that the next thing that we've got going on after this, where are we? Share screen. Here we go. Is I've got a series called The Inner Sanctum, which is like the Wish Alliance. This is my website. And we get on, I only do it once or twice a month with a guest teacher. And we've got a little group on Facebook where we get together and chat. But coming up this, where are we? The 8th of May, which is a Sunday night in the US, Monday morning in Australia, the 9th of May, Michael Tamura, who is one of my favorite spiritual teachers, is coming to speak to us in the Inner Sanctum. Like the Wish Alliance, it is now free or by donation. So we do ask people that are watching this either live streaming or on Zoom that if you want to support Sheila and our work, to please donate. If not, that's cool too. But Michael is awesome. He has had, where are we going? He has had 5 near-death experiences. He's a spiritual master. The first time I spoke with Michael on the show, I've had him on the show about, I don't know, maybe 8 times now. I recognized him as one of my spirit guides in the body, and I had never recognized anyone like that, because he really is a spiritual master wearing a human form. And he's very humble and nonchalant and, laughs at everything. He's so full of joy. So this is a not to be missed. He's coming up 8th and 9th of April. Where are we? May. God, there's so much happening in May. And also, where's Michael? Michael and I are live streaming this. Hang on, it's our Friday, isn't it, Michael? With
I don't see it. Oh, there he is.
Where are you, Michael? I have to pull up with Susan, who's got some things to say. Do you want to talk about that, Michael? What we're doing before this Friday? Where are you? Susan Christensen, Indigenous Prophecy today. Where are you, Michael?
There he is.
He seems to have no sound.
You've got no sound. Can I add you to the spotlight? You're blurring into your background.
Spotlighted.
We can't hear you.
Yeah. Can you unmute Michael?
Yeah, he's not muted. I think he's just having tech problems. I might just unspotlight him for a minute. But so we're going to be doing a live stream again on this channel and on Facebook with Susan Christensen, Indigenous Prophecy today. So she's an Indigenous elder, and she's traveling the world speaking to women and Indigenous elders across the world. And she's got a few projects happening. Michael is a cinematographer. One of her projects, I think they're going out to the desert mid-year, June, July, to do some filming out at Uluru. Michael still hasn't. Anyway, so they're going to be live on my Friday in Australia, which will be a Thursday night in the States on my channel as well. And the YouTube channel, let me show people the YouTube channel, is called, it's actually under my name. It's called Blissful Beings or Karen Swain. Where are we? This is what my YouTube channel looks like. And this is us live streaming now. ATP Media. And what else have we got coming up? Oh, God, I can't even remember. There's so much happening.
May
There's so
21st.
much happening this month. So, So what was the question that you asked me, Sheila?
I said
Who am
May
I?
21st.
May 21st, Galactic Goddesses Connect Hearts across. That's another thing that's coming. There's a few things happening before that, but I can't think right now. Galactic Goddesses Connecting Hearts. We're doing a 4-hour roundtable discussion with about 10 Galactic Goddesses, including Sheila and myself, to speak about what's happening on planet Earth at the moment and who we are in that conversation. And so we tried to get a few different countries, but at the moment we've got the States. We didn't get Canada, did we? We've got the States, we've got Australia, and we've got New Zealand. So we tried to get Canada as well, and a few other countries, Europe, and try to get people in all different countries. But anyway, we'll try again next year. And we're going to do Galactic Gods later in the year, aren't we? And get the guys together. So this is a women's forum speaking about what's happening on planet Earth. What are the new energies that are hitting us? How is it affecting us? How is it affecting our DNA? How is it shifting humanity? Like Sheila and I were talking about it, and she said, what the hell are we all doing here? Like, what are we doing here?
And that was our first question.
And we when we were talking about it, we said, you know, when we understand the collective story, like what's happening collectively to humanity, then we understand our part in it. You know, once we understand what's really going on, the collective story, then we place ourselves inside that collective story. How am I a part of this shift? How am I contributing to this collective unfolding that's happening in humanity? So, yeah, so we're going to be discussing that with some galactic goddesses, and it'll also be live streamed. So your input, anyone's input, is welcome to ask questions of the panel, the team. It's going to be fun navigating a dozen goddesses or 10 goddesses. It's going to be fun. This is the first for both Sheila and I, so that'll be fun. Yeah. So anyway, that'll be fun. And what else? There's a few other things. If you want to stay up to date with what I'm doing, I run courses. I do the shows each week. I've got some amazing people. I think I've got a breatharian coming up on the show tomorrow from Queensland. She's been flooded. She's been in the Australian flood. So every time we go to connect, she can't connect because she's got to deal with the flooding. So hopefully she'll turn up tomorrow. If not, I'll have a day off. But there's a lot going on. I see Rachel's joined us. Rachel was in our inner sanctum, the last one. We talked about dragon energy and light codes. And back to the question, who am I and what am I doing here? Is that what you said?
Right. I said that was the first question that we sent out to people. And, really at this point in time in our history, there are so many activations that's occurring from the solar system, from, plasma waves, from all of the astrological alignments, all sending energy down to the planet. And as this is occurring, more and more people are just waking up. And so we want to see from other people's perspectives what they're seeing in the world, because we all kind of talk about that all the time together. We see this, we see that, this is happening, that's happening. But when you get a group of people together like what we're going to get together, I think it's going to be really interesting.
Are you talking about the galactic goddesses on the 21st?
The galactic goddesses, absolutely.
Well, let's talk about what's coming up this month too in the Conscious Awakening series. So it's you and I, and It's a participatory section today for everyone to ask questions and share your stories and who are you in this cosmic unfolding story. But we've got I've called it the Galactic Gals from Down Under. So I've asked a few guests to come in to the Conscious Awakening series. Next week, I think, gosh, who do we have next week? I haven't even got that up. Rachel, who has just been in our inner sanctum, she will be a guest in, I don't think that's next. Oh, Jen Magenta Moon, who is a Starseed walk-in conscious galactic goddess. She's going to come up next week in the Conscious Awakening series. And after that, we have Lou Vanstone, who's an incredible singer, channels the language of light. She doesn't channel verbally, she channels the language of light. So for all those who understand, she's incredible. She's coming up the week after. And then after that is Rachel. So we're going to chat about light codes and dragon energy and whatever Rachel wants to talk about. And hopefully I've invited Courtney Beck, who I've had on my show a few times. A girlfriend introduced me to her a couple of years ago. She was in the corporate world, bipping along, had the U-Butte job, was earning loads of money, had no reason to really awaken to her cosmic lineage or her spiritual identity until her partner got very sick. And then she had this little thought one day, maybe if I meditate, because she dabbled in meditation and psychic ability when she was young. And then she completely ignored it because she didn't think that any of this was going to help her in her life. She had to, go to university, strive, get the good job, get the corporate job, earn lots of money, buy the house on the harbour in Sydney. And that's exactly what she did. And she was at the top of her game when her partner got sick, and she started meditating, and she had a full-on Kundalini awakening, and Krishna started channeling through her. And she channels Krishna and Isis and you name it, she's channeling everybody now. But she's been navigating that for the past few years because this energy just came to meet her and just rocked her world. And of course she had to move out of the corporate and into being a spiritual teacher. And she's written about 4 books, channeled books that just come through her, a bit like Paul Selig, Abraham, you name it. The channeling just bang, it's there easily. And she is offering them all free. Well, she was last time I spoke to her, but she's also been involved in the floods and moved around. She went to Melbourne, and I don't know if people know that what was happening in Australia during the lockdowns. Melbourne was one of the most locked down cities in Australia, and she was there for all that. And then she moved up to the northern rivers, and then they had the floods. So she's had an interesting couple of years. Anyway, so hopefully she can be our last speaker, because she did say that she's still dealing with floods and all that sort of thing. But she's at the end of May, so I'll put her at the end of May. So that's what's happening in the Conscious Awakening series this May.
Wow.
The Galactic Gals from Down Under.
We're going to have an awesome group. And so please be sure to join us every week, because it sounds like we're going to have a lot of fun. So thanks for organizing that.
So so today was about you and I, because you have never actually been a guest in your own Conscious Awakening series.
No.
So I've had Sheila on the show, and I'm sure many people have seen Sheila being interviewed on other people's shows, and you've heard her story of being a walk-in. Do you want to share a little bit of your journey? And does anyone have any questions for Sheila and her journey? You can maybe ask afterwards.
Yeah. I think that most people have heard my story, but I will share it real quickly. I was a very sick person for a majority of my life and had been diagnosed with some really serious illnesses. And so I had turned to Western medicine to kind of help out with that. Celebrex was my best friend, and I really couldn't do anything. I think I had the starting of rheumatoid arthritis. I'm not sure, because the Celebrex is what, kept my hands active and moving. But at that time, I was walking with a cane because I had erythema nodosum. I'd had sarcoidosis in my late 30s. I had been diagnosed with bone cancer in my early 20s. They had diagnosed me with the potential of brain tumors, but said that I did have the beginning stages of MS, but they wasn't 100% sure. But just to, keep coming back to my visits and working with them, and they would be able to tell me as things progressed. I had fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, you name it. I had all kinds of illnesses, and I think that I must have been physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually just worn out, frazzled. I had a pretty busy job. I had a dysfunctional marriage, had 3 kids that I was raising, and I went to bed in this situation, and what seemed like 7 o'clock the next morning felt like somebody reached down, grabbed me by the hair of the head, pulled me bolt right up, and it was as if lightning was running through my body. And then I was in white space. And I don't know how long I was in the white space, but I know I was out of pain. I felt very comfortable, and I don't think I was given a choice, but if I was given a choice, I bet I would have chosen to stay there. But when I started coming back to myself, my peripheral vision came in first, and then my frontal vision. And I was sitting up in the bed, so I was looking around the room, and everything looked exactly the same as it did when I went to bed, but everything was different. And I didn't know what had happened. I didn't know what was different. But as I got up and I was walking across the carpet, it was like, ooh, squishy. It was as if I'd never even really walked on carpet before. And then when I saw my reflection in the mirror, it was like I was looking out of somebody else's eyes. And so that was a pretty freaky situation to kind of wake up to. But more than that, all of a sudden, all of this information started flooding my head and into my mind. And I was remembering past lives that I did not believe in the night before when I went to bed. I started remembering all kinds of spiritual truths, and I became clairvoyant and clairaudient. And even though I am still those things today, it's very tempered because I've learned how to work with it. But then everything was kind of like, wow, it was just wide open. And so I thought I was having a psychotic break. And my background was psychology, so that just made sense to me. But as time went on, it took about 3 months. I had left the dysfunctional marriage. I found my first spiritual teacher in the next 3 months, and everything had changed in my life. And one of the things that really changed was I went to this lady who was touted as a spiritual counselor. And I thought she was just going to write me a prescription, give me a little blue pill, because she also had her doctorate in psychology. But instead, in a visit or two, I was told that I was a walk-in. And that really rocked my world, because I did not believe such a thing could happen. And honestly, if it hadn't have happened to me, I don't think I would have believed it, because I was in a very small little box at the time. And so that's kind of my story. There's a lot of information that got me from point A to point B. And if you go to my website at Seppi.com and sign up on the mailing list, you'll receive the free copy, the first chapter of my book, and you can just read all about the rest of the story.
Yeah, it's interesting, your story, because it's quite different to mine in that I didn't have some big event that put me on a spiritual path like I was talking about with Courtney. Courtney's like bipping along, earning the big bucks, having the U-Butte human life, and then bang, she has this event. Mine's very different, and you're the same. You walk in, different consciousness walks in, and completely different shift. And all of our awakenings are quite different. I think that I came in with this mission to be a part of the shift. And so even as a young kid, I'm just asking a million questions to my poor old parents that had no idea how to answer my questions, because they didn't think about this stuff. And questions I was asking was like, how can a baby be born in sin? That doesn't make sense. If we come from this place, you can't be born in sin. Like, look at a baby. A baby can't be born. How can a baby be? And my poor mother and father are going, I don't know, Karen. I don't think about this stuff. And so I'm thinking about this stuff and asking questions and asking questions. We were not religious at all. The only time we went to church, which is unlike many of the Americans I speak to on the show, the only time we went to church was for christenings and weddings and funerals. That was it. And then I was a rebellious teenager. I was talking to my group about rebellion. As a kid, I looked out into the world and I didn't understand why kids were not respected, and why my parents hated each other, why my mother got sick. And then when she reached out for help through our system, our healing systems, the medical system, she got sicker. And in fact, she spent about 4 or 5 years going from doctor to doctor to doctor, trying to find out what was wrong with her, because she was just in so much pain. She was in physical pain as well as emotional pain. And of course, doctoring in the allopathic system doesn't take into account our emotional body or our mental body into, it doesn't really connect all that, the energy systems. It's all one system: the physical system, emotional system, mental system, etheric system, astral system. It doesn't connect any of it. It's completely cut off. And so poor old mum's like racing around going to doctor to doctor to doctor. And so I'm asking more questions. Why do people get sick? And how come, they can't help her? And then she's died. And I'm like, where do you go when you die? And if you go somewhere, where is that place? Because that's obviously where we come from. Like, what is that place? And so it was just me asking a million questions. And here in my 60th year, I'm still asking questions, still full of questions, answering. But yeah, life answered those questions for me. So it was a very slow awakening for me, because life came to answer those questions. And one of the things that happened to me as a kid after she died was that she'd come to me in dreams and tell me she didn't die, like so many times. I didn't die. I didn't die. I didn't die. And from my linear mind perspective, because when we're out of body at night, as all of us are, every single one of us, we're astral traveling at night. But when we come back and we meet the human, structure, we come back into the illusion, or we come back through the veil, and we don't often remember. Sometimes we do. Sometimes people remember everything, but we don't often remember what we're up to at night. But we also come back into our mind and what we believe to be true about who we are and about life and about how all this stuff works, right? So a spiritual awakening is this ever expanding awareness of our multidimensionalism, the fact that we can be walk-ins and starseeds, and we can live on other planets, and we live in time and space all simultaneously, and we're having our past lives and our now life and our future lives all at once. It's mind-blowing what we become aware of. But when I was 16 and Mum was coming to me in dreams saying she didn't die, in the dream it would be as real as this life. I didn't realize I was dreaming, and I was so pissed off with her because I had this belief she was dead. And I was like, you mean you faked your death and then went and hid somewhere? Now you've got to tell me you're not dead? That's how I was understanding it. It's because I couldn't understand how dead Mum, it was not dead. I just couldn't understand it. So I'd wake up in the morning and I would think, oh, it was just a dream. It was so real. It was just a dream, because I was confused. I'm like, where the hell have you been if you're not dead? Oh, does anyone else want to share their spiritual awakening and what happened to them and how they became conscious of who they are as spirit outside of the human form? Anybody? Little yellow hands going up anywhere?
Yeah. So does anybody have their story that they would like to share? Susie.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you got to change. You got to change your audio because we're getting feedback.
Oh, yep. I've got it on for music. I got to change it.
You got to change it.
So when I had my first death experience, the amazing thing was that
Susie, you still have to change your audio, darling. Oh, hang on. Wait on. Talk again, because we're getting feedback.
No, it's
that's
fine
better.
now.
There we go. There we go.
Okay. Now where was I? Anyway, I saw my body drop, but I was going, well, if that's my body, what's me? But the interesting thing is I studied with the master, and when he died, I would have so many dreams. In this one dream, I was telling him all this stuff that was happening, and I said, I just wish you were here. And I said, tomorrow I'll wake up and you're dead again, and I know you're not. But and in the dream he pinched me really hard, and I woke up and there's this big red mark on he says, I'm not dead. And even recently I've had dreams. He said, I didn't die. Everything we always believed is still going to be fulfilled. A lot of stuff got in there, but, and it's our perseverance to just know that all is coming to fruition. But anyway, yeah, that pinch really did me because I was so tired of experiencing things with him in my dreams and then waking up and I'd have to grieve again all over, But this is Karen, awesome. Sheila, I love it when you talk. I love it.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks,
and thanks for that song. I loved it. It was so awesome. Thank you.
I know, that's the thing about dreams, lucid dreaming, because I remember when I was younger too, like the dreams were so real that I remember being on a boat and going down a river. And the first time I realized I was lucid dreaming, which means that you become conscious in the dream, that you're in the dream, that you're conscious in the dream. But it's I don't know how to explain it. And I'm like, am I dreaming? And Preston Dennett and I talk about this. Preston talks about this a lot. Am I dreaming? Like to say in your conscious awake life, to ask the question, is this real? Is this true? He says that prepares you for becoming a conscious, deliberate astral traveler, that sometimes you'll actually be in another reality, your body be asleep in bed or on the couch, but you actually still think you're in your normal life. And so question your reality. Am I dreaming right now? So I was doing that in a dream one day. And just like Susie said, I pinched myself. And in this dream or this astral realm or this other dimension, I felt the pain. And I'm like, nope, I'm not dreaming. It's real. And then bang, I wake up in the morning. I'm like, damn, wasn't real. It was a dream. It's just having that awareness when you come back into your physical body, which is not that common, that you've actually been somewhere else, that, you're connected to your multi-dimensional aspect. Yeah, we've got a couple of hands up.
Absolutely. Let's go with Venus. You had your hand up first.
Do you want to come on camera, Venus? There you go.
Yeah, I gotta get the voice.
There you go. We can hear you.
Oh, okay. I can't.
We can't see you. There we go.
Okay. Well, my mom got me into One Step Beyond when I was a little kid, and then she shared books about flying saucers and stuff. I was only like 10 years old. Then we moved to 29 Palms. And some guy turned me on to Seth Speaks by Jane Roberts.
Yeah, me too.
And then that was like 1974. And then eventually someone turned me on to Yama Foundation copy of Ram Dass's Be Here Now.
Yeah,
I
beautiful.
got really hell. I spent like 6 months with it. I got into Bhakti Yoga. I fasted and stuff. And then I started experiencing clairvoyance and clairaudience and all that stuff. And it was wonderful in many ways. It was like kind of like a magical Disneyland, but it's very sad in a lot of other ways because almost everybody everywhere was seriously dead and asleep. So it was like, I mean, nobody could understand me. I ended up in a hospital because everybody thought I was crazy because I understood stuff they didn't understand.
Yeah.
You know, that happens a lot of times. And in this new book that I'm writing, there were several people, I'm not going to put it in the book, but there were several people that shared with me that their families were talking about having them committed because of, I mean, the lucid dreamings, the experiences, the clairvoyance. People would get angry.
There was people like that.
Yes.
In the hospital, there's all kinds of people that have, just like Ram Dass wrote, there's people in hospitals that have these abilities and the doctors think they're crazy and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
They're really not. Like I got so bummed out, I tried to kill myself over a girl and I injected myself with PCP. It was like 1976. And I had a near death and out of body experience. I didn't even understand what was going on. All of a sudden, next thing I know, I'm out over here on the right. I wrote about this in the book I have that I'm writing right now. I was out here on the right. It's totally free, and I didn't have no problems at all over here, and all of a sudden I look way off in the distance, and there's this guy that's OD'd in this hospital somewhere, and he's trying to call his dad on the phone. And I thought, what is this? And I thought, man, this ain't heaven and this ain't hell. What is this? And all of a sudden, I feel a tugging, and I find out later from near-death experience books and stuff that was my satratma, my silver cord, and then it pulled me, and I was right behind the eyes of that person that was suffering over there, way down some like astral corridor. And next thing you know, right behind his eyes, I go, oh no, and then I spent, God, I mean, here I am, 63 years old. I was 17 when that happened, 16, 17, and I've experienced so many things. I mean, I was in an institution one time, and I met this holy man. He was Sacagawea, Lewis and Clark's relative. She guided Lewis and Clark in the early 1800s, and he was a distant relative, and he was a shaman. And he gave me a crystal. One night I was meditating on my TM mantra, and next thing you know, I'm having an out-of-body experience flying through the air like Superman. And I fly down, and I see him with a big old light in his head looking at a crystal ball. And the next day I see him, I go, what were you doing yesterday? And he says, oh, I was doing a crystal reading. He looks at me in the eyes and he says, oh, he says, you remember. He says, you know, you do that all the time. You just don't remember.
Mm.
And
Wow,
I
it
thought,
sounds like you
wow.
do have a lot of
Yeah.
stories. So I'll be looking forward to reading your book. So thanks for sharing some of them with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
sharing. Thank you for sharing all your stories. You guys' stories are great.
Thanks.
All right.
Hey, Rachel, you have your hand up. Let's bring you down. Hi.
So Rachel is one of our galactic gals from down under who's going to be
Woohoo!
joining us and sharing her story in more depth in a couple of weeks.
Wonderful.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks so much. I love these conversations and to be part of them and for everybody to share our stories so that we normalize it, you know. My awakening happened. So I used to speak light language when I was quite young and I closed down to that. And then around June 2000, I started to get this pressure in my ears and like a radio station was trying to tune in. And you would hear the radio station come into focus and then move out of focus and then come into focus and move out of focus. And there was somebody talking on the other end to me, like really what I thought was clearly, but I couldn't hear it properly. But they were really trying to get this message through to me. And I thought I was going crazy because I was hearing voices. And I remember saying to my husband at the time that I was hearing all these voices. And he's like, oh, you know, you should really watch that. And then about 2 months after these voices, there was an absolute feeling of urgency with this message that was trying to come through. And I still didn't get the clarity on the message. But about 2 months after that, my mum went to work one day and dropped dead. And she didn't come back. And through my absolute need to contact her and to make sure that she was okay, I started meditating. And that opened up everything. And everything blew open wide. All my energy centers blew open wide. And I was able to see, hear, feel, and recognize things that I had not been able to before, since, early childhood. And she would come to me in my dreams. I would experience lucid dreaming with her. She would come and see me and I would be just like babbling all these words out. Oh, are you okay? Are you okay? And she was so calm and serene and like just filled with love and this thing of, I haven't gone anywhere. I'm just in a different place, but I'm still, I'm still here. And we would go traveling on a train together. So while I was sleeping, she would tell me, you're asleep, but you're awake, There was this weird message where she would go, you're asleep, but you're awake. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't really know what you're talking about, but okay, I'll trust you on it. Yeah. And while I was sleeping, I would be dreaming of coming into a train station and I would get off the train and wait. And I would see another train come in on the other side and she would get off the train and meet me on the station. And then together we would get on a train together and we would go traveling together. And at the end of our experience together, we would come back to the train station. I would get on my train, she would get on hers, and we'd go in opposite directions.
Yeah.
And we did that for a long time, a really long time. And I was always so excited to go to sleep because I knew that we'd go on little adventures together.
I know. That's the thing about death. When I asked the mob, my guides, I call them the mob, or blissful beings, pretty name, what's the thing that causes the most pain and suffering on earth? They said, your concept of death, because there's no death. And it started with mum coming back to say there's no death. And then my best friend died and she came back to say there's no death. And my other best friend died. She came back to say there's no death. My other best friend died. Like all my friends died. Sorry, if you're a friend of mine, you might die. No, I shouldn't say that to her. Rachel's a friend of mine. You're not going to die. No, I had a lot of death. I had a lot of people die and they come to say, there's no death. There's no such thing as death. And if people really understood that, and that you can continue the relationship with their soul, with who they are, their true self, outside, their multidimensional self, outside of this physical reality, then that grieving process, that pain that people experience with the death process would stop, and this world would be a lot happier, right? If death is the thing that causes the most suffering, then we'd have a happier world if people understood there's no death, and that we exist beyond this time-space reality in multiple dimensions. We could be a 7-foot green praying mantis or a Palladian, and the Pallades are a Venusian in the Andromedan system or somewhere. God, yeah. But there's so many people. Jimmy says here, what did you say? Where are you? I was advised not to tell my family, which I mostly didn't back then. We have these multidimensional experiences in dreams and walk-in experiences and, psychic and Kundalini awakenings. We have all this. And then the rest of the world, the normal mainstream world, labels us as crazy or woo-woo or stupid. But I think that everybody who's on this call and everyone who's watching this live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, or wherever you're watching this, our job, all of us in the Awakening Consciousness series, in the Wish Alliance, in who watch ATP Media and the Inner Sanctum, our job is to really bring this awareness and consciousness into the mainstream as a normal part of life. It is not woo-woo. Yeah, it is who we are. Yeah.
Right. And I think the more of these shows that we do, the more people we contact, the more people will open up. They tell their friends. We start to plant seeds in their auras, and these new light codes come in. People absorb the new light and all the frequencies. More and more people wake up, and hopefully, we've got these big waves that's coming in, that first big wave that shut down, and then now we have 2 more waves coming in this year. One's supposed to be this month that's going to help to awaken a whole new wave of individuals. And then there's another blast coming at the end of the year. And so I am super excited to see what happens with that.
Yeah. Rachel and I went to a delicious place for lunch yesterday together, and we were chatting away about being hybrids. And she said, "Are you a hybrid?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm a hybrid." She said, "How do you know?" And I said, "Because I wouldn't have had all these abilities to be so psychic and like all this awareness had I not been." Like, I realized that my mother, when you look at a photograph of her standing next to her family at her 21st birthday, black and white, she didn't look anything like it. So she was the DNA upgrade, but she didn't awaken during her lifetime. She had some, moments, but then she passed on that DNA upgrade to her kids. And my 2 brothers have not awakened during their lifetime. They just think of me as crazy woo-woo. But yeah, I have. And I believe that even when we haven't had that DNA upgrade as a hybrid per se, everything is energy and everything is an energetic structure. So everything has the ability to transform and shift, and DNA has the ability to activate, and everyone's getting the upgrade. And as you say, the energies, Sheila, hitting the planet are helping that upgrade to expand our psychic abilities, to thin the veil, so that when we do come back in the morning from our nightly sojourns out of body, we have more access, more memory to that. Yeah, it's exciting times, isn't it, guys?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you for joining us tonight, Rachel. I appreciate your comments and for you being here.
Thanks so much for having me. I love this. So whenever this is on, I have Tuesday mornings off in Australia. It's Tuesday morning. And so I'm committing to coming and joining you. You'll have me on an ongoing basis. Yeah, great conversation. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
And April.
I had a question about dreams. So I was wondering if dreams, sometimes if it's not actual recall that we're experiencing, not a dreaming astral, but an actual recall of an event.
I think that happens more often than not, to be honest with you, because, when we leave our bodies at night and we're having experiences, a lot of times we think those experiences were our dreams, when in fact we've stepped into different realms, we're having different experiences, and sometimes people say that in a night they lived an entire lifetime. That can't happen if you're dreaming. I believe that when we go to sleep at night and we leave our body, yes, we're still tethered to it by the silver cord, but the reality of it is that's when we're truly awake. That's when we are the true essence of our being. Now we're just in these human biological containers that really are the vehicle for our soul in this lifetime. And we think we're awake because we have this brain that processes, we have this veil, we have all these matrices that we're working with and working through. And when we are asleep, we wake up. None of that's true for us anymore. We're back to being who we truly are. So you have a very vivid dream life, April?
Or recall.
Or recall. Awesome.
Yeah, this is the dream, right? Are we awake in the dream? This like when people have NDEs or lucid dreaming or out of body experiences in a very conscious, deliberate state, they realize that this is the dream, that we're actually in the dream.
Right.
And where we are in these other realities are somewhat a part of a dream, but they're more connected to the truth of who we are as spirit than this actual reality. Yeah. So you seem to have that going on, Susie. April.
Well, I dreamt I was flying a blue orb, and I accidentally knocked over a tree, a big tree. And oh my God, I knocked over the tree. So the next day I walked down to the forest, and sure enough, that tree was lying down.
Wow.
So was that a recall? Was it a tree? Was I connected to the tree? So many questions, but no answers.
Yeah. Ask your higher self.
Right.
Yes. Brad says from the live, this hi Karen, hi Sheila. There's a few things. He says, what about reincarnation? I don't know what he means exactly about that, but yeah, reincarnation is us, is our soul living a life in another time frame. We've been talking a lot about timelines in the inner sanctum since I did the show with Dolly, and Dolly's on a specific timeline that said that in a couple of years the Earth's going to be fried by a big solar flash, which a lot of people have spoken about, and all the ETs are going to come and pick us up and take us to another planet. And so we've been talking a lot about timelines, but reincarnation is us having an Earth experience, if we're talking about reincarnation from the Earth experience, in another time, another space. I don't think that many people understand how it works, because we live in this linear time frame. So we think of things moving along, from the past to the now to the future in a linear way. But when we're outside of this dimension and we're outside of time, we've got all time to play with. So the soul inserts itself into the Earth experience through all time and space simultaneously. So like here you are as a soul, you go, I'm going to have an Earth experience. Let's look at, I'm going to come down in the year 1960, 1980, 2000. And there's a big shift going on Earth at the moment. So in order to prepare for that big shift, and I'm going to be a part of that shift, I need to understand the Earth experience. So let me come and sort of explore Earth in the 1800s, or let me go back to the dinosaur age, or let me go back to Lemuria or Atlantis, or let me explore Earth in the future in the year 3000 and see what's happening on Earth in the year 3000. And we insert ourselves into the Earth experience simultaneously. And we're living all these reincarnational lives all at once in this moment of oneness in time and space, because it's all happening now. But we experience it in a linear way when we're actually in the Earth experience. So we experience past, be it past in this lifetime or past in another lifetime, and future. Is this confusing, everyone? Are people really getting this?
I think everybody's getting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great analogy. And, so thanks, April, for your comments. I appreciate it. That brought up some great discussion.
And thanks, April. You've got a lot to share, I'm sure.
Oh, yes. She does.
Don says it's like a book. You are looking at a book, and it contains all of our 3D experiences. Yeah. Look at it a bit closer for the details. Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. I always say, I love that, Don. I always say that this life is one chapter in the book of our soul. So this physical life is just one chapter in the book of our soul. I agree, says Brandon.
Don, you've had a lot of experiences. You want to maybe share a little something with people?
What would you like? I mean,
gosh,
what do you think people?
Any topic that you want to share, because you have so many of them.
I've had a lot of experiences. I'm 58. Just about everything. I came in as a starseed, and I forced myself to remember when I was a little kid, like 2 to 4 years old, forced myself to remember from before. And I remembered a small fragment. And since then, everything's been different and wonky. And I guess I should have forgotten, but I didn't. But I can tell you about that, what it was like before I was born, if you want.
Sure.
Okay, what I remember is being in a group about 30 other people like me, and we were working, doing something. There's a overseer type being, not like us, but a different being up front. What we're doing is it's like working on holograms, and we're reaching in and touching lives, people's lives in this existence. We were outside of existence, touching lives. It's almost like doing synchronicities or little things, just small things. We could only do small things because it created a ripple, and we could only do small enough to hit about 3 different lives. You touch a person, it'd make a ripple, touch another life, another ripple, a third life. That was normal. We didn't, from my end, it was all intuition based. It wasn't that we were so smart that we knew what we were doing. It was all intuition based. And then something happened. I'd started changing. I don't know why, but I started becoming self-aware. It was almost like I was part of a group think, a group mind, and then I started individualizing self. And my changes started getting bigger and bigger and causing problems with people. And it was rippling out and starting to cause a serious problem. This overseer being saw it, started coming toward me. I started freaking out, bigger changes. And then I made a big change on one person in the screen, and that was to remember to this thing. And the person on my left looks at me like, what the hell are you doing? You know, kind of thing. And then my whole state, everything shuts down. The hologram shut down, everything shut down. And I'm telepathically told to leave, go through a door outside here with 2 guards on the side. And I remember that you're not supposed to go through this door ever. I now know from you guys that this is like a portal thing and portal guards and all that kind of stuff, but I didn't know it at the time because I don't know anything. I just came out of the closet and figured all that y'all exist like 2 years ago or a year ago. But the portal guards turned and looked at me, and that freaked me out because they never do that, and they smiled. And that never happens, ever, 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 ever happens. I walked past them in this room, there's a pedestal, and we were just talking about the book. And that's why I brought up that reference, because that's the only way I could remember this as a small child. It was glowing like transparent pages with glowing symbols. And the symbols when the pages turned overlapped each other and changed. And they were different from front to back. And if you looked at one, it was the whole history of the earth. And it's hundreds of thousands of years in time. There's an overseer watching me do this. And I'm flipping through all this, looking through Earth's history from beginning actually to the end of the thing. And then it ended. This 3D Earth existence ended, but there were more pages. There was more. So I kept looking. And then it was this existence of glowing people, glowing goldish people. And I had no clue what I was looking at. There was no hate, no famine, no poverty. I don't know if they progressed or if they were stuck. I have no idea. But it was a feeling of perfection, just perfection, these glowing people. And then this overseer type person comes and flips it back and is like, no, you're supposed to pick here where these people live and die. I'm like, great. So I flipped toward the end of the timeline and chose this life, and I got sucked down into the book, into my mother's womb. And that's what I forced myself to remember as a child. That's why I use that book reference. It's the only way I could remember it as a kid.
Yeah, someone on YouTube says the Akashic Records. But when you say you forced yourself to remember, what did that look like? Like you've got like little pieces and then you're like, I want more, I want more, I want more. Like how does forcing yourself to remember, what does that look like?
I remembered everything when I was born. 2 years old, I remembered everything from beginning, from the womb. I remembered everything. And then it was like it was like 2 to 4 years old. I don't remember. I'm 58. That's way along. And what I did is even just walking down the street, I would take it like second by second in my memory and like this happened and this happened and this happened and literally force myself to remember. And I remembered a lot. I would do this every day. Weeks would go by, months went by, and I forced myself and I kept forgetting. And the amount I remembered kept shrinking down. And then finally, it was almost like this veil of forgetting, which I call it, ended. And that's all I could remember was that little chunk I just described.
Yeah. Wow.
That's fascinating.
What an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, the veil, the veil, the veil, the veil, the veil. It's always perplexed me.
Right.
I've asked the mob, the guides, what is it that it consists of? How does it work? Like, what's the mechanism of the veil? How do we squish this incredible infinite consciousness into a human body and not remember who we are? Like, how is that possible? I've got to say, whoever designed the veil was pretty, wow, it was pretty amazing thing to do, to give us this experience of limitation. People say that the veil is a terrible thing, but having that forgetfulness, forgetting who you are, and then taking the journey back home. I mean, that's the beauty of why we come into this experience, right? Like, the veil is something beautiful to be revered and not to resist. Yeah. What an amazing experience.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Don, for sharing with us. And Don, you're going to be our speaker pretty soon. So woohoo!
Cool.
Look forward to hearing more from you. Thanks so much.
Amazing, Don. So
And
somebody else.
Yeah, Jimmy had his hand up.
That was Jimmy.
Ahead. Yeah.
He's still, he put his hand down. There he is. How do you do that?
I honestly don't know. It's extremely difficult.
I don't know how to do it.
Live long and prosper.
That's actually the story I want to tell real quick. So I've been running a friend's holistic shop on the weekends the last couple months, a place I've been part of for years. And I think it was this past Saturday, a lady walked in and I knew her. I had seen her at the shop. And everything she was saying, I knew the story, the whole nine. And she goes, "I don't know you. We've never met in this store." And I go, "Yes, we have. I would remember you. I know everything you're telling me." And she starts telling me she has people in the mountains. She's not from here. She looks right at me. I go, "Oh, we don't know each other from here." She goes, "No." And then as she starts to leave, she turns around, whips around and goes, "Live long and prosper." And I go, "Come here for a minute. That's so synchronistic you said that." And I showed her a social media post I had made a week before and did that symbol. And I had never done it in my life for the store. So she walks in a week later and flashes me the hand. It was, very dreamlike experience, talking about dreams. That's what triggered it. How this is like a dream. So
great. Well, thanks for sharing that, and thanks for your great presentation Thursday. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, I know. Like, we have this recognition of people's souls from other dimensions. Like, people have talked about reincarnation. Like, I recognize you. I've been with you in a past life, but I recognize you. I've lived with you on another planet. Or I recognize you. I hang out in spiritual realms with you, and I fly through the cosmos with you. Yeah, there's so many levels of recognition that we can recognize people's energy signatures or their soul. Or that's so cool. I know you from another dimension.
Thanks so much. Oh, sorry.
I'll just add too, like, I've had that in other instances where people will come up and they know something about me, or I know them somehow, and their energy field is usually huge, like very boisterous, way bigger than mine. And I notice that's an energy signature I'll get, because mine's kind of reserved for the most part at first, and they're just massively, charged when they come in. So. Little tidbit.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Okay.
So no more questions on Zoom at the moment. Does anyone else have any more questions? Lots of chat going on in the chat.
I have well, it's not really a question. I've had a lot of experiences, but I'll share them. I guess the biggest one that kind of like, where there was no doubt in my mind after that. Like, so this was towards the end of 2020, when like all the synchronicities were kind of like lining up. I found like the apartment that's like perfect, all these other things where you just like, how I've had like just little things like this desk that in my room just fits like perfectly. Everything else that I had like just over like a little bit of time like fits exactly, like looks like where it needs to be. And like, so, and then I got Moldavite, and we all know the stories about Moldavite. So and then within like a few weeks of that, I had a dream, but what I thought was a dream, and this was sometime before I learned to open the Akashic records with like through Maureen Saint Germain, and like, so I didn't know them before I could ask the question. But I was on the best way to describe it, like the last parts I remember, I was sitting in this like this wide grand like floor, and then the whole like it had to have been a ship, because like just the whole like just like glass, like everything, and it had to be Mars, because it was just the most, there's no way to describe like the beauty of this color. It looks nothing like the pictures that you see on like NASA. Like it was so radiant and so like, wow. You could just like look at like the perfect sunset, but just like, just slightly darker. Like it wasn't hazy, it was nothing like that, but everything was in the sky. So I'm guessing it was like an etheric city, because you look at the surface of like Mars and everything. But I was talking to, I guess what I found out later through Akashic Records reading, I was talking to my soulmate. But I, like when you like in the astral realm, everything, like I'm trying so hard to squint and squint. And I'm like, just give me features. I want to see details. But, everybody's just so like, hazy. And that was the frustrating part, because I'm just like, I just want to see what these people look like, But the energy was like, it was such a familiar thing that like I hadn't like felt like since I was like little. Like everybody's experienced like this little bit of energy like sometime in their life, but just to have it like sitting there, I'm like, who are you? Like, I need to know. And like, so I was like, also found out I was guided there by like my Arcturian like guardian ETs, and from them I was taken there as like to prepare me. I'm like, prepare me for what? And then as I was thinking that, I saw out of nowhere, it's like it had to be eight-sided like discs that look they were as shiny as like black obsidian, and they just like flew like over me, 3 of them. And as soon as I looked up, I was in my room, and then but my whole body was just like, there's no unmistakable feeling that is real, because I got up. I got out of bed, that feeling like that morphogenic energy where you just feel like you pulled out of your body. It was still happening. And I stood up, I was crying. I'm like, I want it back. Like I didn't know what happened. I'm just like, it was like, I'm so confused. I'm so happy, like just so much flowing through me. And I'm like, and I just sat up, because I looked up and it was just, I know I was there, like, like there was no doubt in my mind after that, then like see something, throughout the months I would see like, flashes of light just like walk by me and stuff like, but that was the first time, I guess, feeling the quote unquote divine love in the body, and the whole, like my whole body just like vibrating. There's like no way to describe, like it makes me like want to cry when I think about it now. It's just so like overwhelmingly like, so that's my experience,
Wow.
Pretty amazing. Wow. Thanks for letting us hear that.
As I was listening to you, Brandon, I was getting a download from the gang, the mob, the blissful beings, the gang. And so many people have asked, why don't the ETs or the higher civilizations have a physical experience here on Earth, like physically walk one and say who they are? And the download that I got was, because we're in this shift and we're moving into a more highly evolved civilization, we as humans have to awaken and develop our multidimensional aspects. So we have to develop our psychic ability, the ability to remote view, the ability to channel, the ability to have communication telepathic communication. Like all this has to come online, and them reaching out to us through these abilities is teaching us, is training us to move into that reality as our normal reality, and not to get locked up in an insane asylum, or to be seen as crazy, or to make it normal. And that's the majority of the way they reach out to us. It's actually them training us to like get with the program, because that's how they operate. I mean, that's how highly evolved civilizations operate. They're all telepathic. You can't lie, you know, in these civilizations. Like Earth experience, 3D Earth experience is based on, like most of what happens, all Hollywood movies is based on the fact that we don't have these abilities. And so there is this deceit and lie, and people hide. You know, you see in Hollywood movies, people hiding, and, you know, they're in the next room hiding. And I think it's so stupid, because if you're all connected energetically, you don't need to see someone to know they're in the room. Because they're crouched down behind a couch. You think that you're hiding? It's like you can be energetically connected to that person, even a complete stranger, and know they're there. Yeah, so just listening to your experiences, yeah, you having that training from your mob, your guides, you know, training you to bring all these abilities online, back online.
Right. Yeah. And that shaking, you know, sometimes if I'm coming back into my body too quick, kind of like what you were talking about, you get that shaking feeling. And if it's too much adrenaline, you know, you pop out of bed, it's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, you know, kind of feeling. So when you said that, it just reminded me of, you know, the experiences that I have, and probably the experiences that a lot of people here have.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not to judge the experiences as that you're having a psychotic break.
It's easy to do.
That you're just having another multi-dimensional, you know, some of your DNA is being activated and some of your psychic abilities are just coming online. Yeah. I've had that shaking experience as well too. When I was out of body one night, I was up in another dimension hanging out with Shirley MacLaine. Isn't that funny? And I said to her, how come I'm with you? And she said to me, oh God, Karen, do you think there was any synchronicity, any, you know, mistake that I was the first book that you ever picked up on this subject, like one of the first books? She was so matter of fact about it. And I went, oh yeah, that's true. She said, yeah, well, I'm one of your teachers. I don't think I'll ever get to meet her in the flesh. Doesn't matter, because, you know, I know her in the other dimensional realms, and she's much happier in those other realms than she is in her body, which is aging here on Earth, you know. And yeah, and I had that experience of being at a table, you know, at a round table, sort of talking to a whole bunch of people, and I felt like I was in the earthquake, like I felt like, and then I grabbed the table and I looked up at them. I said, what's happening? Next thing I know, I'm back in my room, in and out of my body simultaneously. And I'm seeing this third dimensional experience matrix, or whatever you want to call it, through my spiritual eyes. So I'm not looking through my astral eyes or my physical eye, and I'm seeing it all as translucent and transparent. So everything is energy, shimmering and moving. It was amazing to see this. It was amazing to see this reality in it, what it really looks like when we're not perceiving it through the cones and rods of our eyes, or even our third eye, as a reality that's fixed and solid. It was actually see-through and sparkling and energy. It was just like a hologram. Like, yeah. But that shaking was that me moving from one dimension to another. It was really weird. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you brought that up. So now I know, you know, we're not the only ones, huh, Brandon? Great. Thanks so much for sharing. Let's see, Cindy, you had your hand up. Where did you go? Cindy.
I'm still here.
There you are. Okay. I just didn't see your hand up here.
I just took it down because I knew it was getting late and I didn't want to hold everybody up. But probably the weirdest experience I've had was I'm sitting in my bedroom of my childhood home. I was in my early 20s, and next thing I know, I'm seeing this white light and these sparkly white lights coming into my bedroom till my entire room was filled with the white light with these little sparkly things on it. And I'm hearing a voice coming from it, and it's talking to me. And next thing I know, weird things are popping up on the TV, and they're not the typical TV shows. They're holographic, and they're predictive of things I haven't seen yet. And it's like comes from the future. Well, actually, it's very similar to what's going on right now. But at the time, they were teaching me, the voice was teaching me all these different things about thought and what humanity had choices of, to think this way or think that way. And they were showing the potential timeline outcomes. This is long before I learned anything about this stuff. And then I remember one portion, I remember like it seemed like I was peeking through the sky and I wasn't in my room. I was looking down on my room as if I was peeking through the sky or some window in the sky. It was probably the weirdest experience, but the things that I was taught during that time were very, very similar to the things I read by book years later.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. Did you ever write, Cindy, did you ever write any of them down, what you were taught during that time?
Well, actually, a lot of it went into my tarot book because it's very, the lessons that I was taught during that time were pretty much the same thing as the things I learned in tarot and Kabbalah, which were all like connected.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're in my book, and I do tell about this experience in the tarot book, the journey to higher consciousness.
Beautiful.
Well, we need
It's
to
actually
get
in the my story portion.
Yeah, we need to get together and have you to come on to Cosmic Conversations.
Yay.
Share your story. Yay.
I know.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Everyone's got such amazing stories to share.
I know.
And it's so nice to have this time, because I had booked in another galactic goddess from down under, but she didn't respond to my email. I don't know, she's busy, she's traveling, whatever. And so I said to Sheila, well, let's just open it up to have this discussion with everybody. And it's really fun, right?
Yeah.
Rachel's got her hand up.
Yay.
Do you want to come on camera, Rachel?
Oh, you can't see me?
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I put her on, you took her off. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Too many hosts in the kitchen.
I thought I would share one of my earliest memories as human. So it was the realization we're all connected. So I was about 2 or 3, maybe 4 years old, and my grandparents used to look after me. I grew up in the country. They lived on a farm. And so I was just sort of out playing on my own and, I don't know, playing with rocks and sticks and stuff in the red dirt. And I remember there used to be all these prickly pear trees. I don't know if Americans know what prickly pears are, but yeah, they're sort of cactus type of trees. And I used to just really, I don't know, for some reason, really love these trees. And I remember looking at them, and then to the right of me was all the vines of the grapes growing. And I remember just looking at these trees of the prickly pear, and almost like I went inside the prickly pear, like I became the prickly pear. And then I was like, oh, what's happened? And then I was like, poof, and I've come back into my body. And then it was just kind of, I got this like voice coming that we're all one, everything is connected. Like you are the pear and you are the grapes. And it was just, yeah, this feeling that, that I was everything at once. And me at the same time. So yeah, that was one of my earliest memories at about 2 or 3 years old. So I just thought I would share that. And yeah, just that knowing that, you were talking before about we're all connected and we're all one. So, all us humans as well as everything else.
This oneness concept that you're talking about is the basis to consciousness evolution, because we exist in a time-space matrix of the illusion of separation, that you're you and I'm me, and we are separate in some way. The illusion of separation, we can experience the third dimension because we believe in separation. But when we explode that myth of separation and we come back into the unity, and we understand we're connected to everything and everyone and everything, that there is no separation between anything, that's when stuff like time travel is possible. Beam me up, Scotty. moving through the cosmos in an instant. You have a thought and you're physically there. Like that's when you can do what the ET does do, walk through walls. Like I remember years ago when I was learning, is it telekinesis when you move things with your mind? Is that called telekinesis?
Mm-hmm.
So when someone was teaching me that and they said, the trick to it is that you believe that what you're trying to move is not you. So say you've got a pencil in front of you and you want to move the pencil or spin the pencil. So you believe that there's you and then there's the pencil. But if you understand the pencil is you, now you can move it, just like I can move my hand because I understand that this is me. And that's exactly what you're talking about, this oneness principle. When we understand we are one with everything, then we have this completely different experience. We can do what humans call magic, or we become magical. This unity. Move things with your mind, fly through the universe, go anywhere. But what you're talking about, Rachel, is going into the pair I had, when I say had, she's left her body now, in my book Awakened by Death. Yvonne Ballard, she called herself Naya, she changed her name. She had this near-death experience where she was doing just that as a point of consciousness. She was exploring the atom. She would go into an atom or explore the cell, and then she'd push back and explore the multiverse and fly through the cosmos. Like she was out of body and she was like, woohoo, I'm just going to have fun and do. But I thought about it, and then she was very sick. She was a nurse, she was sick, and then she came back into her body and she wrote about it. Actually, she didn't write so much about it in the book. She spoke about it in the show. She's since left her body. But we don't have to die to do that.
Mm.
We can do that. We can, with our consciousness. Like we can go anywhere, be anywhere, explore anything. We can go look inside our body, go inside the atom, go inside the cell. Go fly through the cosmos, go and hang out in other planets, be on ships. We can do anything. It's just that as humans, we don't understand we can.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, Rachel. I appreciate your sharing. It's good to see you.
Rachel.
Good to see you too. Love
That was
hearing about your
beautiful.
stories too, Sheila.
Oh, thanks, honey.
Yeah, Sheila, share a bit more, because you shared with me the other day something you haven't shared with anybody. Share with us some of your
Well, Jimmy asked me a question. He wanted to know, how did I uncover that you were a multiple star lineages, Sirian, Arcturian, etc. And so that took me a little while to discover that. And it wasn't until I actually began practicing shamanism and traveling into the upper world and into the lower world. And that's where I actually became acquainted with what I call my collective, because as I've told the story, prior to incarnation, my collective had merged its consciousness with multiple collectives, and we were here working on the planetary Earth grid as well as the interior of the Earth grid. And so when I incarnated, it was decided that I would be the aspect to come in. And this body was chosen because, first off, there was not a pre-birth plan. The soul in this body was Arcturian and could not handle it any longer. We were here. We had the ability to send an aspect in, and that was what I am, is an aspect of the overall collective. And the aspects that I first brought in were that of the Arcturian. And so for a long, long time, I thought I was Arcturian because, first off, that's what my guides had told me. And I even had a separate incident where I was walking into a hotel room and I was told, lay down now, journey. And, when they tell you to do that in that voice, you do it. And I laid down and immediately I was out. And this tall individual came to me and was talking and telling me all types of information. But then I said, well, are you a new guide for me? And what he said was, well, yes, I am. And I'm like, oh, beautiful. So what is your name? And he gave me his name. And then he looked real firm at me and he said, I am Arcturian and you are too. Well, at that point, I had never heard the word Arcturian. So I wrote it down and I looked it up on my iPhone. thrilled to death that actually there was a word, Arcturian. Now this was back, you know, in the 2000s. So I was still kind of coming into my own, and so I always thought I was Arcturian. And then later I learned from the collective that being part of the collective, that was the aspect that came in, because now I was I was up here in the etheric, but now I'm on the earth. And so I can affect change here. There, we can work with the change. We can infuse the change to happen, but we couldn't do anything about it. So I can do something about it. And the Arcturian energies is kind of like, what I brought was that no nonsense. Let's do it. Let's get it done. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. And so the soul that was in this body previously was Arcturian. And that's one reason why it had such a hard time, got way off track, way off mission, and had just given up. And so no doubt a lot of the illnesses that were being experienced were the Arcturian's way of getting out of this body and going back home. But there was still 3 children who also have missions here. And so there was a whole set of reasons why I came in. But the framework of this body already had an energetic framework of an Arcturian. And so coming into a very, very sick body allowed the soul to incarnate without frying the biological systems. And then over time, more and more information has come to me. There's the Arcturian, the Syrian, the Palladian. I'm working a lot more now with the Syrian energies, the angelic energies, which, you know, I started out, I was not an Elohim, but I was a creation of the Elohim that helped to create other angelic beings. And so that was where this first soul emanation began. And then it was just a matter of, oh, let's be here a couple billion years and I'm going to experience this and I'm going to experience that. So when I then broke out of that angelic energy to start my own experiences and growth as a soul, I visited a lot of different planets, and some of them, you know, not even in this solar system. So information came to me. Also, I was told information through a variety of channelings when I first wrote the book Walk-Ins, Cosmology of the Soul. There was a gentleman, Rob Gauthier. We've had him on. Everybody loves Rob, the ET Whisperer. Ardif came forward and he started basically confirming everything that I already knew to be true. And so that was kind of like, all right, you know. And then I had sessions with like Jacqueline Smith, and, you know, I've done a lot of work with Barbara Lamb, and I've had other, you know, like QHHT practitioners and different people. I've worked with Misha Johnston. And so a lot of information has been coming to me about my star origins, but, you know, I am not unique in that. Every one of us have had so many lifetimes, we just don't remember them. And the reason that we're resonating with one culture over another is because we have that starseed lineages as codes within our DNA. And as they start to open up, then we begin, oh, I'm resonating with the Palladians, or I'm resonating with the Lyrans, I'm, you know, resonating. And more people are starting to do that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, absolutely. You know, who we are is beyond the Arcturians, the Palladian, like who we are is the extension of source consciousness. But I think that as we incarnate into specific timelines, specific planets, you know, wherever we play in the universe, we come in with an intention, and that intention is connected to our history or our connection. Like who was saying, Brandon says he finds out that he's Syrian in this incarnation. He's a hybrid of a Syrian. And yeah, so, and then Brad asked a question about hierarchy. Is there hierarchy which determines our next lives, like a karmic board? That's an interesting question from Brad on YouTube. Do you want to answer that one?
You know, what I remember about like the birth plans is we do have a group that assists us. First off, it can be multidimensional aspects of ourselves.
Mhm.
It can be those who have dedicated to serving as a guide or
Mhm.
are a teacher. It can be some of our higher aspects, or if we're, and I should say, if we're
Mhm.
projecting in to a physical body, there
Hang on.
could be an agenda.
Can you say that again? You just went a bit sort of funny, internet funny. Say that again. If you're connecting
I
to.
said, right, if we're coming in for a specific purpose,
Mhm.
there may be other people outside of our normal clan that would help us to develop that plan to come in.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so, I mean, you know, when you get outside of this planet, then you also have all of the councils, and then you have the Galactic Federation. And so, you know, hierarchies go on and on and on, if you want to call them that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can even say that with your soul. You know, we have the soul, then we have, you know, our spirits, and we have our higher self, then we have the Shantias Khan, and then we have the oversouls, and then we have our higher oversouls. And, you know, it just goes on and on and on. And so everything is an emanation or that ripple out from source. And
Yeah.
so it depends on what ripple you are, whether you're looking up or across or below, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I think that the whole concept of hierarchy, better, higher, lower, is a third dimensional concept that doesn't exist outside of this reality.
Right.
Just like you said, I mean, we think of us being in this earth plane being so lower than the angels or the ascended masters or the higher civilizations. But actually being in this earth plane to a soul, which is equal and the same as any other soul anywhere in time and space, or in what we perceive as hierarchy, is a huge challenge. You know, to forget who you are, like I was talking about before. How do you squish this humongous infinite consciousness into a third dimensional time space reality matrix and forget that you are God, in fact? But you know, I think that the people that watch us, the higher civilizations, the angels, the archangels, the ascended masters, the spirit guides, the dead relatives, you know, the dead friends, they see us going through our physical journey, navigating the limitation here, and they so revere us as the masters who are volunteering to do that. And so there's no higher or lower. There is just an experience and choice and intention. What are we intending? And this is something that humans find it hard to wrap their brains around, because we're so conditioned into better, lower, higher, hierarchy, this hierarchical, all our systems, our corporate systems. There's the boss, and then there's the managers and the workers and the plebs and the people that make the tea. The military is the same. School systems, you know, every system we have is rooted in a hierarchical system. Spiritual systems, the Pope, and then his cronies, and then their cronies, and then the plebs, the people. You know, we're so rooted in hierarchy, and it doesn't exist outside of this system. Hierarchy.
Right. No, it doesn't. Kevin, do you
There's
have any
Kevin.
knowledge about hierarchies? But Kevin, I had asked him if he would share some of his stories, because he has so many stories, and I'm always like, I want to tell.
Well,
Tell me.
I've been sitting back enjoying the conversation. It's been tremendous. I always learn so much when I join in with these groups. So thank you, Sheila and Karen, for organising all this. But I know Karen mentioned briefly about telepathic communication, and that's a lot of. I know a lot about that because I'm an expert in telepathic communication for being a child. So if I was just to explain it briefly, quickly, on two examples, and it might help other people to develop their own telepathic communications, both with what we perceive as our deceased family members and friends and our ET star families. So if I give you a couple of quick stories, a couple of years ago, February the 1st, I was woken up middle of the night, which is not uncommon, at 1:11 a.m. Very often there's synchronicity with telepathic communications. We just have to be open to it and see what's going on around us. And they gave me a telepathic communication. I got out of bed. It was the middle of the night. It was dark. I went into the bathroom and I said, "You've just given me this telepathic communication. Can you turn the street light off that's adjacent to my property to confirm that the communication is from you?" And the street light went off immediately. I always ask for confirmation. That helps with the understanding of the telepathic communication. I understood then there was a second part to the message, and I asked them telepathically, "What about the second part of the message?" And they said, "We'll give you that later." Okay, so I went back to bed. 8 o'clock in the morning, I was woken by two people jumping on the bed physically. I thought it was my dogs, but it was two, I'm sure, my ET guides. And it was daylight. They gave me the second part of the message telepathically. I walked into my bathroom. I could see the street light. It was off now because it was daylight. I said, "You've just given me the second part of the telepathic communication. Can you turn this street light on now as confirmation?" And the street light came on immediately. So if we do that when we receive these telepathic communications, the best, I think the problem that we have is that we do not believe the thought that is coming into us as a telepathic thought. So if we ask the question for confirmation, and then once you learn that and become confident in the information that's coming in, it increases your telepathic abilities. And from the other side of it, just a quick story, I was sat at 10 o'clock at night watching TV, and I received a thought, and I thought it was my thought. And the thought was, "Have you locked your chickens in?" I have some chickens and we have predators where I live and I have to lock them in. So I had this thought, I'm watching TV with my wife. And then my second thought was, yes, I'm sure I locked them in. But I acted on the first thought. I went out, and as I went out of my back door, the street light went off, the same street light. I walked towards my chicken coop and they were locked in. So my second thought was correct. But then I looked up at a second street lamp and I looked up at it and that went off. And then I had another thought. I wonder if there's a craft in the area. I looked up and there was a craft, a triangular craft, lit up like a Christmas tree. It flew silently over my head, changed direction, and then disappeared over the horizon. So really, that's really having confidence in your own thoughts. The first thought, my understanding would be the telepathic thought, saying, "Have you locked your chickens in?" The second thought, which was my thought, "Yes, I have done," which was correct. But I acted on the first telepathic communication and then got confirmation as I went outside. So if
okay, who asked you if you locked your chickens in? Who was that asking you?
I say that again.
Who was asking you if you locked your chickens in? The people in the craft?
ET guides. It was part of the education in relation to understanding telepathic communication.
Okay. But they basically wanted you outside so you could see the craft. Why couldn't they just say, "Kevin, go outside, there's a craft"?
Yeah, but that wasn't the lesson. The lesson was one of telepathic communication.
Right, okay.
And having a difference between your own thoughts and the telepathic communication. So, So if we all ask, when we receive these thoughts, ask for confirmation. And when you do that on a regular, time after time after time, then you get confident in the telepathic communication that you receive.
Perfect. Yeah, fantastic.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. I mean, that's the thing. As humans, we've got all these millions of thoughts streaming through our brains constantly, and we seem to think it's us all the time. But when you start to get proficient in telepathic communication, you learn to discern different streams of thoughts. Who is speaking? Am I picking up the thoughts of the person I'm sitting next to on the bus stop? Or is that my thought? Or am I picking up the thoughts from my spirit guide or my dead mother? Or is it my thought? Or am I picking up, some communication from the mob or the entourage, as Susie calls them, or your guides? So we have to, it's subtle nuance, right? It's subtle, but you can get really proficient at at understanding these different streams of thoughts and then identifying which part of that is you, your conscious mind, your egoic mind, your subconscious programming, higher guidance. It's something that humans, as humans, we all have to learn. You know, what I see and I'm passionate about is having universities teaching humanity this all over the world. Like, just, this is something, the power of our mind, of the power of our consciousness. It's not taught yet. I mean, meditation and mindfulness is starting to get taught in our educational systems, but in universities, it should start at kindergarten. It should be taught in every school. Yeah, anyway, one day. Yeah, thanks, Kevin. You'll have to be one of the teachers in the teaching that. Do some courses on it, Kevin.
Right.
Run some courses on it.
Karen, we have so run over our time. Look at that.
Oh my God, have we? I know.
And that's what happens. We get together and say, you know, we
wow.
just chit chat and then bring everybody in the conversations. I love hearing everybody's stories and the different things that have happened to them, because, you know, somebody can say one little thing and it's like, oh, wait a minute, that's bringing back a memory. What? You know, what is that? And this kind of gets like the tip of our tongue, and then bam, it's like, oh my gosh, I received something in a dream last night and I totally forgot. And so these kind of conversations are so important. And I am so grateful to everyone who, you know, asked questions in the chat or showed up on the screen or with YouTube or Facebook, anybody that, you know, asked a question. Thank you so much for that, because you really kept, you know, the energy flowing and the dialogue going. And you know, that's really what it's about, that we can learn from each other. And so thank you guys. And I think we're off to a good start for this month. Karen, what do you think?
We're up and running, honey.
That's right.
There's been quite a few comments on the YouTube and different places that we haven't got to, because we've been really focusing on the Zoom comments. There's been lots of comments on the Zoom comments. But awesome. Yeah, it went so quickly, but it's so great to hear from everybody, from people. Michael, you had your hand up for a second. Did you want to say something?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Did you want to say something?
Technology. Yeah, I just put the link up there. I don't know if you can spread that around. Kevin and Kathleen Martin and Melanie Barton and Denise Stoner had a most amazing conversation with me, which I'm now releasing. And it actually brings into focus the absolute crossover between extraterrestrials and spirituality. And I'm going to be releasing a couple of little clips from Kathleen in particular that actually address that. And Kevin's experiences and channeling in that group for connecting with the Council of Eight is absolutely phenomenal. And Kathleen talks about it in her book as well.
That was something I wanted to talk about today, Sheila, but we've run out of time, because it was a conversation I had with Dolly on the show, Dolly Saffron, about how do extraterrestrials think about God? Because as humans, we compartmentalize our spiritual experiences and then everyday life. And, you know, we go to church to feel the presence of God, or we meditate to feel divine, or we, you know, as I was saying, I've got a friend who does movement to evoke the divinity, to evoke the higher self, to evoke divinity. And she was saying, yeah, you know, like they're just operating like that all the time. They don't sit to meditate to evoke that feeling of being connected to the divine. They don't go to church to be connected to the divine. And she called it the one mind, which really explained how I see my mob. They said they're connected to what they call the one mind, which we would perceive as God. Mm-hmm. And that one mind is like infinite, like the Akashic records, like infinite information, like all information. And then depending on your intention or your thought or your stream of consciousness, you go into the one mind and you pull from it what you need. And so this is what I call my guides, you know, the mob. I call it the mob because I give it a more human perspective, but it's like tapping into an ocean of knowledge, an infinite ocean of knowledge, like the one mind, or what humans would call God. It's so fascinating. Thanks for bringing that up, Michael. It's so fascinating to hear about how extraterrestrials perceive God and their idea of God. And it's so different to the way we do as humans, in that, you know, so many of my clients say to me, I have this spiritual life where I talk about consciousness and crystals and meditating and psychic ability. And then I go to work and work as a secretary, and I'm like, my normal life. It's like these two separate lives, but it's one life.
Right.
And I'm always saying to people, talk about your inner world in your outer world. Like, talk about, you're talking to dead. I go to parties and funerals and I tell people I'm talking to dead people, and people go, what? You can't do that. It's like, just no, it's my one life. Just be authentic, be who you are. Don't censor yourself to fit into this other life. Yeah, talk about your experiences. Come out of the ET consciousness spiritual closet.
That's right. Because once you do, you can't get back in.
Yeah, because all these people that think we're crazy or woo-woo, all that, they're all going to awaken one day, and they're going to, like Steve Jobs says, here's to the crazy ones. They're the ones that change the world. Yeah. So yeah, you're not crazy. You're just expanded. Right. Infinite intelligence into your multi-dimensional aspect. And so I think that it's the job of all of us to bring this expansion into humanity and to awaken, like this is called the Conscious Awakening series, to awaken consciousness. Absolutely. Within everybody. And as you own your awakening, you own your expansion, you own that you're talking to Syrians and Palladians and Arcturians. Like, when you own that as your truth in your reality, you give permission to those other people who think they're crazy to own they're crazy and understand it's not their crazy, it's just their awakening or their expansion. Yeah. So, absolutely. Wow, that went so quickly.
I know it did. And it's like, oh man, I just wanted to bring everybody on and hear what they had to say, but we'll have to do this again. And so when we do this through the Cosmic Conversations, we call this our family reunion, because we all are connected and we are just one. And so it's so good to hear everyone's perspectives and where they're coming from and what's happening, you know, in their lives, because the more that people have the opportunity to talk and share, the more likely they are to talk and share to others in their life. Right, and so exactly. This is that safe container and a platform where people can really try out their voice and really learn what it's like to speak their inner kingdom. And so I am so excited that everyone has been here and participated, and it's just been a beautiful evening. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't believe how the time has gone by, but we will be back here next week at the exact same time. And do you recall our guest next week? You want to speak a little bit?
Yeah, Jen Magenta Moon. Has she filled out the form? Let me
Yes.
Yes. Oh, thank you.
April says yes.
let me just let me find her on my webpage, Jen.
I just posted on Wish, and yeah, she's May 9th, May 10th, her country.
Yeah, her country. My country, Australia. Yeah, let me find her on. No, I can't. I'm trying to find her on my.
Just across the pond.
Just across the pond. That's right. So Sheila said to me the other day that she's having a meeting. Come to Colorado for the meeting. I said, so that's a long way from Sydney to Colorado for a meeting. She goes, why not? And I thought, yeah, why not?
Right, why not? Come on.
I might just come. Where's Jen? Here's Jen here, the beautiful Jen Magenta Moon. So she's going to join us next week. She's an Australian starseed. This is on my website. This is her on my show. She's been in our inner sanctum. She, like you, Sheila, she's very into the shamanic. So a lot of starseed, a lot of very cosmic galactic people, you know, go into shamanism because when I quizzed her about that, she said that you know, the shamanic practices from the indigenous and the original people really help these cosmic people ground and be here on this earth and be present and embodied, and so that they can bring through their multidimensional aspects into the embodied physical human. And so these shamanic practices and ritual and is important for them to do that. So Jen will share some Starseed Awakening. She'll share some of her pearls with us next week.
Yeah, and the indigenous people, of course, are from the stars. And
exactly.
So it's kind of like they're teaching us once again how to remember who we are, to stay grounded, because during this time of awakening, we can become ungrounded. But the whole purpose is, yes, we're ascending, but we're also involuting as well. So we're dropping in to that essence of who we truly are and awakening from that soul level and remembering and beginning those advancements. And so again, thank you for coming. I think we'll have a wonderful, wonderful time next week. And so for everyone that was here, thank you. We appreciate it. Much love to everyone.
Can I pop it on gallery view? Can I put it on the gallery?
Absolutely. I was just, I'm going to let you do that because I was doing it. I don't want to put them up and you take them down. Do you have everybody on gallery?
There we go.
Wonderful. So thank you guys so much for being here. Much love to everyone, and namaste.
Big hugs to everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Everybody. Love you all.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Love to all.
Love you
right.
so
Good
much.
night, everybody.
That's our ET fingers coming out.
Can't do it.
There we go.
I love that.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Good night,
Love you all.
Night.
Have you stopped streaming? I think you're still live. Do you want to stop the live?
I'm going, yes, I have to
Things at home.
go here.
After midnight, we're going to let it all hang out.
Oh, no, that's scary.
We're still live.
I'm working on it.
You're working.
So, guys, just enjoy the show. It's,
Just enjoy Sheila trying
That's
to find
right.
out
Just
how to turn off
enjoy
the
it,
live.
I
called
love
the learning
technology, and
curve.
technology
Learning-
loves me.
That's right.
This is the
got it.
after party.
That's right. So I think we're
We're still live.
We
No,
are?